If you would just answer the question, it would be something different.
But if I have no answer to the question, what do I say?
You're on a test. You have to pick one of these wide receivers in this tier.
And I told you what I would do.
No, you gave me your discussion on the topic of ADP.
No. What I'm saying is, okay, I'm in a draft, like going through your scenario.
Forget the draft. I gave you a list of 10 wide receivers.
Okay.
Who cares what the ADP is? Because it's going to be different on this site versus this site. It's going to be different this month versus last month. You got these 10 wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
Which one of these wide receivers do you want to have more of at the end of the year? Which one do you want to have less of at the end of the year? That's simple.
I don't think like that, man. I'm sorry.
All right. We got to get the show.
I mean, let's talk.
Your mother-in-law saying, Dayo, this is my only fantasy football team, and I need to win this year.
Give me any of them. I can talk myself.
I need to win this year.
Give me.
I need to win this year, Dayo.
Give me any of them. I'm literally saying, give me any of them.
So you gonna tell you tell your mother-in-law?
I would say pick. I would say pick a receiver.
You just say roll the dice and pick any wide receiver.
I really would.
All right. Welcome to First and 15, the only podcast that's trying to get you paid.
Wait. We're gonna start the show. I'm not ready. Wait, mic check? I didn't look at the camera, everything.
We're good. I thought you said that we were ready. We're ready to go.
I didn't say we were ready. I said start the show, and then you start talking. Let me make sure. Do we got a mic check?
Yes, we're good. The audio's good.
Mic check?
We're good.
We don't know the topic. Like, what are we talking about?
We got it. Like, let's just wing it. Come on, let's go.
Just winging it? Okay, hold on.
We're 33 minutes in, 34 minutes in.
I mean, I was trying to come up with topics. Nobody.
Come on.
Y'all not interested.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, no, I like just talking about players.
Yeah, and that's what I think that we should do. That's literally what I was
saying. I want to talk about players.
All right. Welcome to First and 15. Come on, we gotta go.
Let me look at the camera. Let me be ready.
Come on, you're ready. I'm
not ready.
All right, come on.
Oh man.
Wait, my mic is in my face. I'm not. Come on, producer. How do I sound? Mic check.
You sound good, man. You sound good.
My mic is not on.
It is. Yes.
It is. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, the camera's good. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. All
right. You ready?
The 3 camera looks a little off, but okay.
That's just what it's going to be. I think it's actually the which colors in the back. I think
okay.
Those are brick.
Let's start.
All right. Welcome to First and 15, the only podcast that's trying to.
Come on.
I see a day to see a job is what it made me. Shit be freaking bravery. See it's mine is slavery. 9 to 5 grind and strive. Fucking nigga pay me less. It pay my bills at minimal, but see it pay me stress. Doing this, doing that, and turn around and scold you true. How I did it wrong when I just did it like you told me to. Fuck you, eat a dick. That's what I be really thinking. Yes, sir. No, sir. That's what I be really speaking. Cause even though this job pissed me off, obviously, we'll make a nigga piss more.
Oh man. Oh, it's gonna be a late night.
Welcome to First and 15, the only podcast that's trying to get you paid. I'm here with 2-time FFPC champion AB. Alongside him is my guy Dayo the Machine. Guys, I don't know if the rest of the country knows, but when the Houston Oilers left for Tennessee, they took the rights to the Houston Oilers, and that franchise still stays in Tennessee. So not only do they have the rights to the Houston Oilers logo, but they have the rights to the uniform as well. Apparently, the NFL has just approved the Tennessee Titans to actually use the Houston Oilers logo and the old uniforms. And apparently, rumor has it is that when they play, why does the
NFL have to approve that? That's their logo and their
because it's still a part of their uniform. So like they had to approve new uniforms.
And it's just a throwback, just like every other team.
Yeah, but the NFL still has to approve it, and so the NFL just approved the helmets, just approved the logo.
They played with the Oilers uniform before.
Apparently not.
Yeah, they have Derrick Henry has played.
Apparently there's something with the NFL approving of the helmets and
maybe I'm.
Yeah, you probably haven't seen the traditional Oiler helmet.
I feel like I have, but maybe I'm.
Maybe it was the colors, but
what's the question though?
If you let me get to it,
I'm trying to figure it out.
You're still ready to fight. Like I don't know what
trying to figure it out. What we talking about with the Oilers for?
Apparently they're planning on using those uniforms.
Okay.
When they play the Texans, how do you feel about that?
I wish they would.
It's their uniform.
I wish they would. Man, we really got nothing else to talk about?
Yeah. Wait. It's their uniform though. Like what? Like
It's not really their uniform.
it is. It's the Adams family uniform.
No.
They own the colors.
That's the Houston
They own the
uniform.
logo. It's not. It's not. The Adams family owns the logo. They own the team.
When
I don't
Titans
think the
left,
legalese-
he cut them off. Like,
When they left, they were the
legalese,
Oilers. Remember, they
like-
were the Tennessee Oilers.
Yeah.
They
Okay.
were.
They were the Tennessee Oilers. So
what?
they own all of that stuff. That's why if you don't pay attention, I mean, if you haven't realized, when they abbreviate the Houston in the NFL, they put HOU. I'm sorry, they put HST.
yeah.
They can't use HOU because the Adams own that. The Adams own that. They own the colors. They own all of that stuff.
They own HOU?
Yes. So we can't use any of that stuff.
How do you own HOU? Like
You the lawyer.
the airport.
No, I'm talking about the NFL side of things. They can't use. That's why you always see HST.
Interesting.
So, but again, the Adams
The more
family
you know.
owns all that stuff. That has nothing to do with Houston or the Texans, man. Let that go, man.
No, man. No. But those
That's
are our
like-
uniforms.
That's like
People
the
know
St.
that.
Louis being mad at the Rams in LA are being used.
No, that's not the same.
It is the same.
No, what Hall of Famer do you know came from the Tennessee Oilers? I can name a Hall of Famer from the LA Rams.
But the Houston Oilers moved to Tennessee.
I know, but they're
it's
known
the same
as
team.
the Houston Oilers. Most NFL fans know them as the Houston Oilers. A lot of NFL fans know that the Rams used to be in LA. Eric Dickerson made the LA Rams a thing. How many players do you know played for the Tennessee Oilers?
I mean, Tennessee Oilers was only around for like a year or two.
All right, well then it doesn't
And then
count.
they
Well, then
switched
that's
it.
Houston.
But what I'm saying is the franchise, like all the records of the Houston Oilers are all Tennessee Titan records.
I know, but I'm saying they shouldn't be. I'm saying the uniforms should have stayed here. Those are Houston uniforms. You know how many little flip videos I've seen with that
You gotta let that
Oilers
go,
jersey?
Yeah, you gotta let that go.
No,
Man.
gotta
I
let
can't
that
do
go.
it. I can't do
You
it.
gotta let
That
that go.
that got nothing to do with us.
All right, let's talk about fantasy football for a second. Guys, let's think about our boards. Let's think about the board for a second. I consider that first tier of running backs to end at Nick Chubb. And then I consider everything after Nick Chubb to be the second
Who do you
tier.
have before Nick Chubb?
Oh, who do I have before Nick Chubb?
Yeah.
Saquon.
Okay.
I have Austin Eckler.
Okay.
I have Jonathan Taylor. And then obviously C-Mac. That's tier one for me.
Okay.
And then everything
So
after
Pollard
that
is after Chubb?
Yeah, so Pollard is after Chubb.
Derrick
Okay.
Henry's at the show.
He's after Chubb, tier two. And my question was going to be, where do you guys see that? If you agree on that tier one, if you don't, then let me know. But if you don't, where do you see that tier ending, like that second tier of running backs ending? Because I think that it ends at James Cook. I think it's that wide.
At who?
James
Cook.
Cook
Yep.
in the second tier? Mm-hmm. But you just said Pollard's in the second tier.
Yeah.
So you think Pollard and James Cook are on the same level?
I think Pollard and I think at the end of the season, I think James Cook and Pollard could end up producing the same.
Hold up, man. You can't just be
Wow,
throwing out shit like
this boy come with the heat today. What's
Hey, hot takes only.
Let's go.
Hot takes only. Clearly, we did not
I was not ready.
Let's go. Let's go.
I was not ready.
you.
Okay.
Like, you see, we got an ADP board. Okay.
Let's go.
Oh wow.
you came with
All right, let me regroup.
Yeah, we
we
gotta
talking
recalibrate
Oilers,
for
we
a
talking
second.
James Cook. Okay. For me, when it comes to this first tier,
Let me take another drink.
my first tier is just massive when it comes to these running backs, and yeah, I'm pretty much playing ADP at the current moment. But when I kind of get into some of these high stakes, main event type FFPC leagues, at that point, all bets are off. So my first tier for that running back class or that running back tier one, in no particular order, like really no particular order: CMC, Bijan, Austin Eckler, Saquon, Jonathan Taylor, and Derrick Henry.
And
And
no
then-
Nick Chubb.
Nick Chubb, Tony Pollard, and Josh Jacobs. So that's my top tier. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9, right? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 9 players, okay? And to me, it is extremely, extremely hard to rank these guys. I think right now, everyone is just leaning on the markets. Market can be fairly accurate, okay? Market is very safe to play. You play based off of kind of what the market dictates as far as ADP. But honestly, I think it's going to be hard for any of these guys, barring an injury, to not succeed and give you round 1, round 2 value. Okay. And I think all of these guys have the potential to be the number 1 overall running back. All of them, really. There's some guys that I'm not as high on and don't have a lot of currently. Those include like your Austin Ecklers, the CMCs, and that's because of where they're going. I want my top tier wide receivers, those 4 top wide receivers in Kelsey, and then also probably even Stephon Diggs before I want any of those other guys.
Yeah.
But interestingly enough, I had my first main event, slow draft, started that, and I had the 12th pick. And this is kind of like really when you start locking in, like, and you start thinking like, okay, who do I really want here?
Right.
And at that 12th pick, you just know, for the most part, you kind of got your, I don't want to say pick of the litter, but this is large tier. And, before in previous pods, I kind of talked about the idea of just let me get my wide receivers because there's, other running backs going a little bit later. But man, you start to kind of do your deep dives. It's a slow draft, so now you can do a little bit more research. You can try to project. You can look at others' projections. You can try, you go through the roster. You go through everything that you can go through to really try and get a good sense of like, how many fantasy points is this guy going to give me? Okay, again, assuming injury. And when I'm looking at it, I just came to this realization like, I still want those top 5 wide receivers because they are just in unbelievable situations. They've done it before. They've proven it before. They have and have shown that they can put up 300 plus points, and they have elite or at least very good quarterbacks and are in very good pass-heavy systems. And then after that, things kind of get shaky. Okay. It's either a question mark as far as competition, a question mark as far as who the quarterback is, a question mark as far as new systems. It's just a lot of question marks. And so what I'm thinking right now is this is probably when I really do want to start maybe at least grabbing one of those running backs. It's hard for me to go running back, knowing what I can get later, and then knowing the wide receivers that come later in the draft, which I think there's a lot more question marks than people believe. Like that round 4 through 6 or 3 through 6 and Underdog and FFPC and NFFC, there's just a lot of wide receivers, and I think we're getting so wide receiver hungry that a lot of us are going to be disappointed at the end of the year when these guys just, produces a typical wide receiver 2, and in a PPR produced about 215, 220 points, and then we were, gung-ho to get these guys, and then we passed up on these running backs who were easily getting us 250 points. And the same thing could be said, for me, at the back end of the first round and the early second round, we're getting so excited about these wide receivers, the Amon-Ra's and the A.J. Browns and the Garrett Wilsons, and we're just sleeping on these guys like Jonathan Taylor and Barkley, who could potentially put up 300-plus points and who have done so in the past. Jonathan Taylor was literally the consensus number 1 for the majority of the offseason last year. And now people just don't talk about him like he's just an outcast. Right. And I get situation has changed, but did it really get bad? Did it really get worse? Not really in my mind. It really didn't get all that much worse. And in my mind, things have actually gotten better in this situation. I think he's got a better head coach. I think the quarterback situation is better regardless of who starts and when they start. The offensive line just didn't play to its potential last year. And to me, that's something that could easily turn around. They no longer have Nyheim Hines, and the potential and the cast behind him is really kind of, a bunch of just guys who haven't really done anything in this league. So, kind of, again, to answer your question, like, that tier is big, but I think more importantly, I'm starting to rethink, like, where these guys are going. And I'm kind of moving and shifting now. I don't care about the ADP anymore. Like, I wanted to try and take advantage in drafts and try and get guys past ADP, but now I think it's a losing proposition to pass on a lot of these guys for these high-end team wide receiver 2s or 1Bs.
Now, just for the folks at home, the main event is a FFPC season-long tournament where the grand prize is $1 million. It's a high-stakes fantasy football league. Dayo, where do you see those tier breaks? That first tier break, and then let's also move to that second tier break when we talk about running backs.
So, definitely see it very differently than the way you see it. For me, the tier 1 is still those top 2 guys, C-Mac and Eckler. Because like I've said before, I see them as the Konami code running backs.
Just 2 running backs.
Yeah, just 2 running backs. I see those as the guys that can give you high production in the running game and the receiving game. I don't really see any other running backs that can do that.
Barkley, I think, caught 60 passes last year, 60
He
plus.
did, but I'm saying high production on both fronts. And I think Barkley sometimes he gives you he doesn't give you the full potential of what you think he can do. While we've seen C-Mac do it, we've seen Eckler do it. So those are guys I have in the tier 1. Those are guys, if I had to make one bet on who would end up the season as running back 1, those are guys I'd put my money on, right? My second tier then, it's and I don't even want to say I put Bijan at the beginning, but Bijan's obviously in that tier. But Bijan all the way to Jahmyr Gibbs. And by that, you're adding in your obviously your Barkley, your JT, your Henry, your Pollard, your Josh Jacobs, your Ramondre Stevenson to some extent. I have some reservations about him. Breece Hall to some extent, again, is more injury concern. But I definitely have Najee in that. And those guys, the reason why I have them in tier 2 is because I can see any of those guys finishing the season as running back 1. Like I can envision that. So they're
Najee Harris?
Yeah.
Hell no.
Yeah. I can see all those guys potentially be ending the season as the top running back in fantasy, right? So that's where I have my second tier. The third tier then is all the guys after that. And I'm just looking at the board right here. You have your ETN, you're mixing. I'm going in the order of the board. I'm not so much rankings, but mixing Aaron Jones, K. Walker, Dobbins, Akers. It's probably where I would stop right after Akers in my tier 3. Just guys I think will give you suitable, strong production, but I don't see them possibly ending up as running back 1. And then when you get to Madison, those are all guys that are, good, solid guys to have, give you starter type production, but they're almost a dime a dozen. Like that's the big tier where Madison starts all the way to like even as low as AJ Dillon. Yeah, kind of see that. So that's kind of how I break up my tiers.
So you're telling me that you can imagine a season where Dameon Pierce outscores Najee Harris?
No, I can. I'm not. First of all, I'm not saying the guys that have in different tiers cannot outscore the guys in the tiers that have above them. What I'm more saying is Najee, I can envision Najee ending the season as running back 1, while I don't see that with Dameon Pierce.
I can't see that at all.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm not saying we should agree. It's just that's how I break the tiers down. The guys that I can see possibly ending in running back 1, I have in that second tier. The guys I'll put money on ending in running back 1, I have in my first tier. And then all the guys after that I have is being solid, but I don't see them as ending up as running back 1.
But Najee hasn't even come close to being top overall running back. Saquon has done it. Saquon has done it.
So it's not about
Jonathan Taylor has done it.
I have Saquon in that tier.
Derrick Henry has done it.
In that tier. The thing with Najee, he gets so much volume. That rookie season of his, he actually was pretty strong. He I think was a top 5 running back that year.
And then they drafted Jalen.
I don't think they drafted Jalen Warren. I think he was an undrafted free agent.
Well, he's on the squad, though.
But Warren had a good game. He's a backup running back. Every running back on this list has a backup to them.
But he is a backup running back that gets touches.
Okay.
In passing game, we saw Najee's Harris.
We saw that last year.
Receptions really drop.
But
with Warren,
I got you. But again, I know the type of if Najee is very efficient with his touches, he gets bell cow work and he's involved in the passing game. If he's efficient with those type of touches, he could easily outproduce where he's being drafted right now.
I don't know that he gets bell cow work. I don't know that you can say he gets bell cow work. With Jalen Warren last year, he didn't get bell cow work.
He did get bell cow work.
No, he didn't.
Jalen Warren took away a lot of his
banged up too.
He was hurt in that team, and he sucked. But he got the work. But if he actually did well with it,
he hasn't really been an efficient. I'm not saying that.
But that's the point I'm making. If he's efficient with his touches, he can make that production. The other guys, like the guys in the next tier, I don't see them, even if they're efficient with their touches, I don't see any of them possibly ending up as running back 1. So that's just how I tier them up. Now, obviously, if you look at it, Najee's going to be at the back end of tier 2 for me. He's not going to be in the front part of it, but he's still in that tier for me.
I don't know.
I don't know how you tiering Najee with Saquon and Jonathan Taylor.
It's just how I see the
those
tier.
Two players they're better.
You just heard Chris say he tiered from Pollard to James Cook in one whole tier. I'm saying
he didn't say from Pollard to James Cook. He just included James Cook in that tier.
He did say they're all part of the same tier, right?
Yeah,
that's the same thing I'm saying. I see
just
JT
in the tier.
I'm not
saying that I'm ranking them, but like what I'm saying,
you're saying basically from Tony Pollard all the way down, including all those running backs, to James Cook is in the same tier.
Yeah, what I'm saying is I can imagine. Listen, man, Tony Pollard was. Listen,
Y'all like to imagine a lot.
No,
I don't. I'm not imagining.
Y'all were big on Tony Pollard.
I mean, you have to imagine everything. We're forecasting everything we're saying right now. Nobody knows what the 2023 season gonna be like.
At some point, you have to weigh the pros, you have to weigh the cons, and you're in a draft, and you got to make a decision.
So what I'm saying is,
you can't draft 1,000 teams.
What I'm saying is, I can see James Cook being in a situation where he outproduces Tony Pollard. Last year, y'all kept telling me that Tony Pollard couldn't carry a full load, and he got hurt even with Zeke carrying a significant amount of the goal line work. And now you want me to believe that he is a tier 1 running back? Well, that's or like he's a second round worthy running back?
That's fine if you want to take him out of the tier. That don't mean you got to bring everybody else into the tier.
No, what I'm saying is I'm lowering that tier.
By that logic, I can envision Elijah Mitchell being better than Christian McCaffrey because Christian McCaffrey gets hurt. Like
no,
we can imagine a lot of different things. There's a wide,
Elijah
spectrum.
Mitchell isn't in the same type of situation that Christian McCaffrey is.
Elijah Mitchell's a backup,
right?
But you're talking about Tony Pollard getting hurt, right?
No, I'm talking about the situations in which I can see them in. I see like James Cook being in a really good offense. I can see them not wanting to run.
The initial question, is James Cook going to start? Do you believe that?
Yes.
Okay, if James Cook is going to start, then he does have the same type of outlook or potential outlook you can say with Tony Pollard. We know James Cook is efficient in the receiving game.
Mm-hmm. That's not true, though.
How is it not true?
Because the Buffalo Bills' run game and volume and receptions that go to their running backs is not equivalent to the Dallas Cowboys run game.
But that's what they did in the past. You act like they can't change their scheme going forward.
They've already said they can't use guys differently.
I guarantee you this. I will give you 2-1 that you won't take James Cook over Tony Pollard as far as outscoring him over the season. You won't take that bet. You won't.
Listen,
so you can talk about what could happen, but that's not a bet that you're going to take.
No, what I'm
because
saying
you don't
is,
believe that that's the most likely thing to happen.
But whether he takes the bet or not, it doesn't mean the outcome is not possible.
1% probability. I don't make picks based off of 1, 5, 10% possibility.
But what Chris is saying is, yeah, Pollard has the better outlook as far as what we've seen in the past. But if they're both in a situation
and the future.
You don't know what's going to happen in the future, though.
I can make the same argument about Devin A-Chain and Christian McCaffrey.
But is Devin A-Chain going to start?
He just broke his leg, man.
Is Devin A-Chain going to start?
Tony Pollard just broke his leg.
He did not just break his leg.
He's still rehabbing.
You know how many? Look at the first 5 rounds. How many players have had injuries?
But don't tell me about
Christian McCaffrey
when a guy
injured.
just ended.
Austin Eckler. Significant injury history. Yeah. Saquon Barkley, significant injury history.
Jonathan
Taylor was injured last year. Nick Chubb has been injured. Tony Pollard has been injured.
But we haven't seen Tony Pollard after the injury.
Josh Jacobs has been injured.
Yes, but we haven't.
We haven't seen Tony Pollard as a bell cow.
Right.
We haven't seen Tony Pollard as a bell cow.
You don't need to see him as a bell cow. We didn't see Austin Eckler as a bell cow.
We have seen Austin Eckler as a bell cow.
That's not bell cow. He wasn't a bell cow.
He was a bell cow.
He didn't get 300 touches.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter his quantity. The usage of him was bell cow.
Bell cow is elite rushing, carries.
That's subjective definition.
Receptions.
That's a subject. I could say a bell cow is
okay. So then, what's your definition of bell cow?
I was literally about to say that. Okay. It's subjective. I could say a bell cow is the team's main running back when they're going to start the game, when they're at the goal line, the guy that utilize the most as the running back position. I can consider that a bell cow. Whether they run the ball a lot, that again, that's a whole different discussion. A bell cow for a bell cow for the Titans, the way they use Derrick Henry is not the same way as a bell cow for another team where they don't give their running back that many touches at all.
Right.
So it's all relative.
Again, you're talking about what could happen, what is in the realm of possibility.
But look, everything we're saying is something that could happen because nothing's happened yet.
I know.
Literally everything we're going to say about this upcoming season is what could happen.
And but until it actually, to me, that's all useless. To me, that's useless. It is because I can go through the entire board, and every player being drafted has somewhere in the range of their outcome where they could just, basically exceed and be this amazing sleeper pick.
And that's true.
But I'm not drafting these guys on a majority of my team based off of this 5% potential.
But Chris is not saying about drafting. That's a whole nother discussion.
Right.
We're not talking about where you're drafting.
You're talking about tiers.
He's talking about how he has the guys.
Tiers to draft.
But that's not what Chris is saying. Chris is just talking about how. Well, let me let Chris speak for himself. Sorry.
No, you're nearly spot on. Listen, we are drafting James Cook at the front end or the back end of the 7th, right? Like, I see that there is a tier break after that. Everybody after that, I see as
if you see
backup running backs, right?
If you see Tony Pollard and James Cook in the same tier, then you shouldn't be drafting any of the running backs in the first 2 rounds or in between until you get to James Cook.
No, that doesn't make any sense.
That's not accurate.
I mean, how is that not
accurate? You know what's so
accurate?
wild about this conversation is that we got into an argument over the weekend because we started talking about whether just because he drafts a running back as his second running back, whether that person is essential.
I was there?
No, it's kind of an extension from your argument with him that, hey, like the first 6 picks should be your
guys you're going to start.
No, so let me break this down. Let me break this down.
Like that doesn't mean that I'm going to start.
Let me break this down. Okay, so this was a
totally
board
different discussion all of a sudden.
Yeah, this is a board where basically like I think I basically went hero wide receiver. I think maybe I started off with Tyreek Hill, and then things just kind of kept falling for me. Mm-hmm. Like Saquon, I think I had like the 7th or 8th pick, and then Saquon fell, and then like Breece Hall was. But basically, it was just like I just had just all these running backs that I felt were better than the wide receiver options there, and then I didn't take my second wide receiver until like the 8th or the 9th round, and
which
that
was Gabe Davis.
Which was Gabe Davis,
right.
And so. His argument was that, like, Gabe Davis is your wide receiver, too. How are you going to win like that? And I was like...
No, I didn't say how he was going to win like
but
that.
I was like... Gabe
Davis is your wide receiver,
Gabe Davis... It doesn't matter if Gabe Davis is my wide receiver, too, because in FFPC and really in a lot of formats, I'm not looking at it that way. I'm looking at it... I have 6 skill position players that I'm starting. Does my number 1 skill position player beat your number 1 skill position player? Does my number 2 beat your number 2? Does my number 3 beat your number 3? Does my number 4 beat your number 4? So if 5 of my top 6 players defeat 5 of your, and I'm winning 5, but your wide receiver 2, but your wide receiver 2 beats my wide receiver 2, you can have that.
But you're still
I'll take the other
him,
5 positions.
Just because you put him in a flex position, you're still drafting him as your receiver 2.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is the only way that you
can't put him in a flex if he's a receiver 2. He has to be in the receiver 2 slot.
But what I'm saying is it doesn't matter.
What I'm saying is like he's saying that, hey, like I'm drafting him as a receiver 2, but I'm putting him as a slot. But then that means that somebody who he's drafting later, he's expecting to outproduce Gabe Davis.
No, I'm not.
Because that's his true receiver 2.
No, number 1, I am high on Gabe Davis from a standpoint of where he's going. I do believe that he can produce as a wide receiver 2 and outscore a lot of these guys who are going through rounds 4 through 7. But the second thing is that, like, again, with Gabe Davis, like, I'm not looking to, like, put him on the bench. I am looking to have him start as my wide receiver 2. Is he going to be this high-end wide receiver 2 like a T. Higgins? No. But I don't need that if I'm beating you at literally every other position.
I got you. But isn't it true that Gabe Davis was the second receiver that you drafted?
Yes.
So by definition...
Not the last, but the second.
So by definition, he is your receiver too.
He is, but that does not matter.
Okay, but he's still your receiver too.
Yeah, but that does not matter.
It does matter.
It does not matter.
All right.
So okay,
it doesn't matter. If 5 of my tops... If we're talking about 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 2 flex positions, okay, 6 positions. If 5 of those guys beat 5 of your guys, and one of your guys, your wide receiver 2 that you're calling him, the guy that you put in your wide receiver 2 beats out the guy that's in my wide receiver 2,
I got you.
The total points, that's what matters.
Right. Well, then you're just saying that who's ever in your flex is going to outscore the other person's flex. But you're not saying that, that's it. Well, then you were arguing that Gabe Davis wasn't your receiver too.
I'm saying I was arguing that it does not matter that he's my receiver 2. It does not matter that I waited until the 8th round to get my wide receiver 2 because in this particular format, I can start 4 running backs.
Yeah. I mean, but
okay, so switching the topic a little bit, kind of going back to what I heard Abby saying earlier that kind of stuck to me. He was talking about how he's been drafting lately and the back end of the draft, he's now starting to consider these running backs more often. My question, if we knew, right, if we had a crystal ball right now and we were able to say, guarantee that none of the running backs will get hurt, right? If we took that risk, because like we were saying last week or maybe it was a week prior, I think a lot of reasons these wide receivers are so highly ranked is because of they're less fragile of a position compared to the running back position. These running backs that get hurt every single season. So if we took that factor totally out of the equation and we said every single running back is going to start week 1 and play, 17 games.
Yeah.
How would we change the way we, I guess, rank these guys? Is there running backs we would jump over these high-end receivers, or will we still see it the same exact way?
It wouldn't change at all for me for a couple of reasons. One, I just don't assume anyone's going to get hurt, and I also don't assume that I'm going to take a 0 at a position if someone does get hurt. So really, for the most part, when I'm drafting and I'm thinking about points, I probably talk a lot about total points and guys scoring like 300 plus. I use that as a benchmark a lot. But really what I care about is what you're going to average per game.
Okay.
That's really what I care about. Because I just assume that at
so
some
you think
point,
those receivers are going to average more than these running backs?
Only a select few. I only have 5 in that category. So
Okay.
then after that, I don't think that it's going to happen.
Okay.
But the second part of that is where so many running backs are going now that I actually have faith in, that I feel can produce a significant amount to where
you can't make that part of the discussion, because if we knew all the running backs were going to be higher, they might not be where they're being selected now. They might be taken a lot higher.
I can't make that. I mean, I think I don't think people are concerned about those running backs that are going in rounds 5 and 6 about their injury.
No, what I'm saying is the whole running back position as a whole, I think, for me personally, I think the ADP will rise. If we knew there was none of them that were going to get hurt, I think all the running backs that we know were going to be starters especially, I think all of them are going to rise, because now you're able to lock in a starting running back. And starting running back, as long as you're a starter, you have potential to have a great game.
But then how do you explain Saquon Barkley's ADP? I mean, I'm in the main.
I mean,
my slow main right now,
again,
you went 208.
But I kind of have explained it. I think part of
But then why is
part of
C-Mac
all
going
the
in
running
first?
back. Again, part of every single running back's value is the concern of a potential injury, and every single running back you're saying has had a history of injuries.
But
to
one
some
is
extent.
one is going like in the early first, ADP,
Right, but
and the other is
if we
going,
knew,
like, second.
if you told people C-Mac was not going to get hurt this season,
I still wouldn't draft him number 1.
I'm not talking about you. I said if you tell people C-Mac was not going to be hurt this season, I think there's a chance C-Mac might be the number 3 consensus pick.
I don't know about that. I don't necessarily know that.
I think it would be Jeffrey, Chase, and then
But
C-Mac.
then
at
you're answering your own question. So like at some point, like there's going to be a cutoff for certain people. So like,
No, I haven't answered my question. I want to answer my question. Chris, do you have any thoughts on it? Because the way I see it is, if I knew all the running backs were going to be healthy the whole season, like if there's no injury risk whatsoever, I would actually start my drafts with running backs like crazy.
Yeah,
I would probably go running back.
But
then who are your 2 wide receivers going to be?
I'll find somebody.
But see, that's that.
I will find
So,
somebody.
I'd rather get the 2 wide receivers, the 2 elite wide receivers who I know and who I feel very comfortable with.
But again, I think part of what I'm saying though is if we knew none of the running backs were going to get hurt, I think running backs ADPs will rise as a whole. So then these receivers that were taken in round 2 and 3 are going to actually fall to more round 3 and 4.
It's less the receivers in round 2 or 3 that I'm concerned about. It's more the receivers in rounds 4 through 6 that I'm very concerned about. And it's the running backs in those rounds 4 through 6 and maybe even round 4 through 7 who I have a lot more confidence in.
But you're not hearing what I'm saying. If again we know what I'm saying, then those running backs that you're seeing right now in the 4th, 5th, and 6th, I think they will end up being more 3rd, 4th, and 5th type
that's
players. That's what I'm saying. I think running back value right now is depressing, because let's think back to how fantasy football was played 5 years ago. 5 years ago, that first round of fantasy drafts was mostly running backs,
But it's a
and
different
maybe
NFL.
AB.
But it's a different NFL.
It is a different
I think
NFL.
the reason we're seeing the drop of the running backs is because we're seeing more running back by committee. We're seeing why is there less bell count?
But why is there
potential.
running back by committee? They want to keep guys fresh. Guys are getting hurt. You know, if we take that factor totally out,
Adding more games.
yes, take that factor totally out, and now you know this guy is going to be our starting running back for the whole season. He's not going to get hurt. He's going to get that same type of usage. Then I think his ADP will increase. So what I'm saying is, I think the reason why we've now depressed running backs' value so much is because we're afraid. Number one, they're going to get hurt, and with the risk of injury, it's like I'm gonna to invest all this draft capital in this guy that I'm not actually going to be able to utilize for the full season. While receivers, most of these receivers, I mean, obviously it's not 100%, but most of these receivers are going to play the full gamut of games, or at least a majority of them. If they get hurt, it might be like a small little ankle or hamstring injury.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't necessarily know that I agree with that. I guess we just got to agree, just because if you go back to the board and you look at the board, maybe it's just not as ingrained in people's mind or as fresh in people's mind, but there are a lot of wide receivers who missed a lot of significant time in the first round. Like it wasn't Kupp missed a big portion of the season.
Okay.
Jamar Chase missed a significant portion of the season. Who else is in that round?
I don't think he missed a significant. He came back. Like
I think he missed like three games.
Yeah,
or so.
but these running backs, they miss like they get hurt and they miss the whole season.
Who missed the whole season?
Like maybe Derek,
in the first
Derek
two
Carey
rounds?
missed the whole season, but
he missed like two games.
No, he missed a lot more than that, because remember we were talking about how Hilliard
like
was
games.
actually usable. Breece Hall hurt for the whole season. He was gone. Najee was hobbled pretty much majority of the season. Like, these guys that we hope are going to be our main running backs that were drafted high, once they get hurt, they become useless.
I mean, I don't know. I guess we have to agree to disagree on that one.
Again, I think this is a thought exercise, right? If you flip your mind and say, okay, none of these running backs, like look at all the running backs we're seeing on the list, none of those running backs get hurt, right? If none of them get hurt, then I think we're going to value taking them a lot higher than we are now, because then you can lock in that. Because, okay, I think the amount of usable running backs as a whole is less than the amount of usable receivers. And maybe that's the point I'm really trying to make. So once the usable running backs are all dried up, yeah, you might not have the top end wide receiver, but you'll still have a wide receiver
that's what I care
that
about.
You can use.
That's what I care about. I mean, go pick a random wide receiver that's going through round.
But you just made the point yourself. These high wide receivers, like, again, this is what made me even say this. These high wide receivers that right now we're looking at as, man, they have this off the chart potential. It wouldn't be a surprise if they put up wide receiver 2 numbers this year.
I don't agree with that.
You said it.
I don't agree with. The high end wide receivers that I'm talking about are those top 5-6 guys.
I'm not talking about those guys. I'm
talking
about,
guys 4 through 6.
I'm talking about the back end of the first. The back end of the first, like your Diggs, CeeDee, Bear Wilson,
I don't include Diggs in that.
Devontae Adams, Olave. All those guys right there.
I think so. To me, so Diggs to me is included in the top tier. Okay, so we can disagree, but he's included in the top tier.
Okay,
you don't
and
see
it's not
Diggs in
close.
the top tier.
Different discussion for another day.
Okay,
but he's easily in that top tier for me.
Okay.
So I want to get those guys. Then there's question marks just as far as like a person's situation, but there's guys who's done it before. Mm-hmm. So I like Devontae next. Okay, I like to just in my mind he's QB proof. Jimmy Garoppolo, I'm just confident that he'll be healthy based off everything that I've reported. And then the other guys that come into play are more question marks regarding someone like an A.J. Brown, where he has to kind of defend against a Devontae Smith. Okay. And so there's going to be weeks where or maybe like 2 or 3 week spans where he's just like producing single digits. Mm-hmm. And then there's Amon Ra, who's a great possession receiver. He's going to catch probably 100 plus, have 100 plus receptions if he stays healthy. Mm-hmm. But his ADOT is still relatively
7
low.
yards a catch.
Okay,
and he's not a teaser. But let me finish. And then you got the Garrett Wilson, where up and coming wide receiver. He's definitely someone like you want to have chips of, but kind of questions mark there. But to me, there's no question mark when it comes to Jonathan Taylor and Saquon Barkley's workload.
Okay, but you're missing a specific factor in all of this. If what I'm saying is what's the case will be, then once you take those high end wide receivers early, and then you start saying, okay, now I'm ready to fill in my running backs, all those running backs are going to be gone.
I don't agree with that. That's what I'm saying is I don't agree with that, because I think there are so many running backs that are going so late right now because people are worried about their position. But again, I don't think it has anything to do with injury.
But you keep missing the major point I'm making. I think they're going that late because of the concern about potential injury and usage. If they were not,
I don't. That's what I'm saying. Is I disagree with that statement.
If I believe if we were not concerned about any of these running backs getting hurt, right? If you looked at DeAndre Swift and you told somebody Swift is going to play the full season with the Eagles as a starting running back, I don't think he's going to be where is he at right now, round 6. I think he'll jump up maybe 2 rounds.
See, again, I think for me, again, I just don't agree because I
Derrick
wouldn't
Henry
draft
for
him there.
sure.
Derrick Henry be a number one pick, or first round pick.
If you knew
easily.
Derrick Henry was not,
So you think
hurt.
people are worried about Rashad White's injury history? You think people are worried about?
I think more people. So Rashad,
like some of this I don't
Rashad White
get.
is a different type of discussion. But a lot of these other, like Cam Akers.
You think people are worried about Cam Akers' injury history?
Yes, he's coming off of Achilles. If we
He played pretty much.
I think it's just
he played the whole season last year.
But still, it's a running back position, and he could still get hurt. If Dobbins, same thing. If we knew Dobbins was not going to get hurt at all, these guys would be higher ranked, in my opinion. Okay, I'm just this is just the way I look at it. And so then when we do the draft, if you're still saying, okay, let me now target these highest wide receivers, while everybody else, again, because I think ADPs will rise, they're now trying to secure their running back. So then by the time you're ready to get your running backs, these guys that you're seeing like Swift, Dobbins, Akers, they're not going to be there in the 6th and 7th round. You're going to be stuck with people like Dylan, Samaje, Brian Robinson, Khalil Herbert. And guess what? People are still going to be drafting those guys because running back value is now increased.
I disagree. I think the landscape has changed, but we can agree to disagree. But the thing is like we're not drafting based on that. We're drafting based on the current ADP. So if I can get a J.K. Dobbins in the 5th round, if I can get a Damian Pierce in the 6th round,
of course.
Why would I want to pass on like some of those elite guys?
I'm not saying passing them now. I was just saying again, it's just a thought process. I mean, thought exercise. If the running back injury was not a concern,
but
I just think the whole board would be.
But even then, if they shifted up. If I can get me Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, because of the advantage I think I have with those wide receivers over the rest of the fields, I'm going to do that first, regardless of what our running back is on the potential, regardless of if they're not going to get hurt or not, and then take running backs later. Because if I know all running backs are not going to get hurt, there's so many running backs that are available to me. There's very few guys that I think have the potential for Jamar Chase later in the draft.
And I think that's where we differ because I just don't think there's going to be running backs available for you if that's the case. And that's so what happens is you're now focusing on this one position, and while you're focusing on that one position, the other positions are being sucked up dry. So then when it's now time for you to take your guy,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Don't even count that. Don't even count.
It's like 30 of them. Don't even like 30.
Don't
I
count
need 2 rounds.
Listen. Don't count that. Count teams. There's 32 teams in the NFL. Each team can only have one bell cow running back. Okay, they might want to split share, but each team can only have one running back. Every team can have 2 or 3 valuable wide receivers. We're taking the wide receiver 2 for the Eagles in the 2nd round now. Mm-hmm. We're taking the wide receiver 2 for the Bengals in the 3rd round now. So teams can still have viable receivers that are their wide receiver 2. So that's 2 to 3 for every team. So you multiply 2 to 3 times 32, you're choosing from like 90 players. While running back, you're only choosing from those 32. So once those 32 are sucked up.
Yeah, but they're not going to be sucked up in the first 3 rounds.
You're selling me.
They're not going to be sucked up in the first 3 rounds.
It's just a thought exercise,
you think 32 running backs are going to go in the first 3 rounds?
It's not going to be exactly like that.
So that's what I'm saying. Get you an elite wide receiver. This is exactly what I did in the draft, by the way. Get you an elite wide receiver, and then just get you these running backs, because I'm playing with the assumption that, like, I'm playing points per game basis, and that if these guys get injured, I'll have something on the bench that I can fill in.
Do you know what you just admitted to?
What?
That you believe that second tier goes down as low as James Cook.
That's not what
if you're drafting all those receivers in the first and you know that you can get running backs that far down.
Not at all.
You're telling me that you can get running backs. Got him.
Wow.
We got it.
I guess anything
Listen, let's go back to the first round for a second. Let's say that you do get that 10th, 11th, or 12th pick. All right? Who are the 2 guys that you're hoping to walk away with?
Dayo.
So I like. So looking at the board right here,
9, 10, 11,
I like
12.
CeeDee Lamb.
9,
we
10,
talked
11,
about
12.
that before. I
9,
like
10, 11,
CeeDee Lamb this year.
Mm-hmm.
So I want CeeDee Lamb.
Me too.
Okay.
And then after that, I'll take any of the guys that fall to me.
Who you avoiding? Who's the last guy? Who's like, damn, all these guys win? All right, I'm cool with it.
If I ended up with Tyreek Hill on the first, I'm avoiding Waddle. If I end up with A.J. Brown the first, I'm avoiding Devontae Smith.
But we're talking about 9 through 10 right now. So you got
I like
CeeDee, Stephon Diggs, A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra, Saquon.
I'll take any of them.
Which is the guy, though, that you want the least of? You got to pick one. Even if you're just making up, you got to pick one.
I'll take any of them. Except
pick
for,
one. You got to pick one to avoid.
Except for Waddle and Devontae Smith.
They're not in there. They're not in that tier.
Then I'll take any of them.
Pick one that you got to avoid.
Because if I'm taking a guy at number 9, which is CeeDee, then I'm gonna be left with one of those guys.
You have picked 9, 10, 11, and 12. You got to pick 12.
Okay.
All these guys are available to you. CeeDee, Stephon Diggs, AJ Brown, Amon-Ra, Saquon, JT, Devontae Adams, and Garrett Wilson.
I like all of them. I don't know.
Pick 2.
Who are you taking?
You got to pick 2. You're on the clock.
I'll take CeeDee and Diggs.
Thank you. God damn.
But I'm never gonna get CeeDee and Diggs because they're going 9 and 10. And the reason I would take CeeDee and Diggs is because their ADP is 9 and 10. So if they fall to the 12, it's a value pick for me.
Man. Just put yourself on autopilot then.
All right. Like if you're 9, let's say pick 11.
Okay.
You have pick 11. Who are you taking?
Lamb, CeeDee.
All right. Well, we know you're taking CeeDee over everything. Huh?
I told you how much I like CeeDee.
Okay, so you.
Okay, well at least that's a real answer.
Wait.
I'll take that. I'll take that.
So are you taking CeeDee over Tyreek if Tyreek falls?
No. Hell no. I would take Tyreek. Maybe I would consider Tyreek at number 4.
Oh. All right, now we're getting somewhere. All right.
I mean, that's where I have him, number 4.
I would consider Tyreek number 4.
Yeah, I got a Justin Jefferson, Chase, Cooper, Hill.
Okay, all right. Abby, like you.
All right, I'll tell you who I'm not taking. CeeDee. I am not high on CeeDee the way y'all are. I thought.
You're high on CeeDee, Chris?
Yeah, like I'm really high.
Yeah, I'm high on CeeDee.
I thought CeeDee was in the best possible position that he could be in last year. And how many fantasy points did he have? Go ahead and look that up as I talk. So he was in the best possible position that he could have been in from an offensive coordinator standpoint, from a reception, competition standpoint. We had Michael Gallup, who literally said, like, I literally should not have been playing. He came back way earlier than he was supposed to and said he was just not right all season. And you had Dalton Schultz, who was also playing through a PCL injury. I think people completely forget that Dalton Schultz was playing through an injury.
Chris, is this last year's numbers?
Yep. This is last year's numbers.
He's number 6.
He was in the best possible position last year. 149 targets, 102 receptions, 1,307. Let me finish. 1,307 yards and 8 touchdowns. Okay. Now, come to 2023, we have an improving defense.
Okay.
We have a head coach who laughed and chuckled at the idea of throwing the ball more and talked about how he wanted to establish the run and control games. Okay. They brought in Schottenheimer, who typically is going to.
He talked about running the ball with they drafted a running back.
But then they lost Kellen Moore, who ran at a fast pace and who threw the ball more.
All right.
So who
they brought in your boy Brandon Cooks, and you have Gallup, who's now the year removed from the F word.
Taking?
Let me finish the CeeDee because I'm not done. I'm not done with the CeeDee.
Guess we CeeDee bashing for a second.
Go ahead. We CeeDee bashing because we was on CeeDee last year, but now I think the idea that CeeDee is somehow in a better situation. CeeDee's a fine pick because he gave you 285 points, but to me, a ceiling of 285, and that was his best possible scenario. Oh man, and I think people just remember how CeeDee ended the year. I don't think they remember how he started the year and those ups and downs kind of in between. I think we just remember how he ended the year. And then, it's kind of that recency bias type deals. Be cautious with CeeDee that early. The other guys I like because I feel like the other guys have that 300 plus potential. So really give me anyone, okay? Give me anyone, JT, Saquon. Steph Diggs, I'm taking over everybody. Again, like I already said, I consider him in that other tier. And I like Adams too. And I think at the end, I'm looking at some combination of A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra, or Garrett Wilson. And even though CeeDee may outproduce half of those guys, the receivers specifically, barring everyone saying, barring injuries, I think the upside of those other guys are significantly higher than CeeDee.
So you pretty much name every single player there except for CeeDee.
No, I'm saying I would take Stephon Diggs easily.
Okay.
We should see,
and then the next would be either between Devontae Adams, JT, or Saquon Barkley.
We should see CeeDee the way we see Stephon Diggs.
And I think I'm leaning JT right now. I really do
you
feel
have
like
Devontae,
I'm back on JT.
JT and Barkley over Armon and Garrett Wilson
and AJ Brown. Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Well, that's interesting.
And over CeeDee.
You can get,
and clearly over CeeDee.
If you got number 11, most likely you can get Devontae right there.
You can get him on.
And you're probably not gonna get AJ to come back to you because the 12th pick will probably take him.
Yeah. Adams is not a comfortable pick. It's not a confident pick, but it's damn, this dude is elite. Like with my eyes, with metrics, he's played with multiple quarterbacks. And is Jimmy Garoppolo really that worse than Derek Carr? It's the same system, and there's really not much in the way of target competition. And he plays in the division where I think there's going to be elite offenses. I'm going to bang on that drum again. I'll go back to that well.
All right, so let's talk about Kansas City, one of the NFL's best offenses. What are you guys doing with the running backs in Kansas City? Like, are you drafting Isaiah Pacheco? Do you think McKinnon still has a role in that offense? Like, what are you guys going to do with that backfield?
Yes and yes.
All right, so you drafting both?
No, the question was, am I drafting Pacheco? Yes. Mm-hmm. Do I think McKinnon, what was the question you said? Do I think McKinnon still has a role? Yes. Both those answers are yes. The reason why I have no problem with the person taking either of those guys because they're both going so late. Yeah. Your investment in either of those drafts are so low that it's not going to really hurt you unless you just are going to make that guy your running back one, which means prior to that, you've been drafting wide receivers, tight ends, and quarterbacks like crazy. But if you're really building a balanced team up to that point, what's his ADP right now?
Isaiah Pacheco is in the 7th round.
7th round. So
in the 7th round, yeah.
Yeah, so technically you can envision pretty much all your starters already being filled up and Pacheco just being your first bench spot. Or he could possibly be a running back 2 for you if you decide to build your team that way. And he'll be your weakest starter in that aspect, or theoretically. So I have no problem with Pacheco at all. We know he has a high ceiling because he's on, like you just said, the number one offense in the league. And when you're on the number one offense in the league, you always have the opportunity of scoring. I mean, the Chiefs can easily get to the red zone 5 times in the game and decide to just give it to Pacheco on the 5-yard line. He run in for a touchdown, even if he didn't do anything else the rest of the game.
Yeah.
McKinnon,
they don't do that, though.
Yeah, they don't do that. But, they can switch it up. One thing about me is...
I keep waiting for them to do that. So I keep waiting.
Y'all keep waiting for them to switch it up.
One thing about me
is... I'm an offensive quarterback. Do I want to give it to Pacheco, or I'm going to put it in this guy that I'm paying like $5 billion to?
It's not so much about me waiting for them to change. It's just the fact that it's a possibility they can change. Mm-hmm. Like every season is different. Every offensive coordinator is always trying to make slight adjustments and make improvements. They might say, hey, this year, if we give Pacheco more burn, because the beginning of the season, Pacheco didn't get much burn at all. By the end of the season, Pacheco was being used a lot. So even in season, they changed the way they were using their running back.
Yeah.
So looking at Pacheco, again, the investment you have for Pacheco is not going to hurt your team, even if he doesn't do as great. We believe he's a starter. The only problem with Pacheco that you have to be concerned with is they're talking up this generic price guy, and you could say he came out of nowhere, but you could have said the same thing about Isaiah Pacheco last year coming out of nowhere. Yep. So we know the Chiefs have no problem finding a diamond in the rough that if they comfortable with them, they trust them, they'll let him play. Pacheco's been hurt so far this offseason, and it's still early. It hasn't even been training camp. A lot of things they haven't even really put pads on. But while he's been hurt, Prince has been getting the shine. Prince has been the guy actually running, and I'm assuming he's been running with the first team because I think McKinnon hasn't been practicing either. Maybe CH has been practicing. Maybe he's been getting the first team reps. Yeah. But they're seeing Price or Prince. He's a big guy. He's fast. He has a good skill set. If the team, again, trusts him, if he can pick up that pass rush or that pass protection, they might use him. And at that point, Pacheco might hurt you because you invested, again, not a lot, but enough to where you wanted him to be useful. Yeah. McKinnon, I don't really know what to expect from McKinnon. He's older, right? He's in his 30s now, I believe.
Yeah, but they signed him back, though. They
did sign him, but...
He's excellent at pass pro.
I need to look at this contract.
He's very good at pass pro.
They got a lot of running backs right now, right?
They do.
Yeah. Somebody's going to have to go.
Yeah.
In my opinion. They might keep them all, but I just see somebody has to go. And it's either going to be CH, in my opinion, or it's going to be McKinnon. I don't think it's going to be Pacheco, and again, I don't think Prince is going to be let go.
Man, y'all can have them. Y'all can have them all. Y'all can have them all. I really don't want any of these guys, with the exception of Prince. Maybe a little bit of CH. I am drafting.
I haven't seen Prince being drafted at all.
Yeah. I drafted him in like the 20th round. Just because you get the free preview and you just never know what's going to happen. Like you already mentioned.
You drafted him to try to play like a little defense, though. You didn't really.
No, I've drafted him more times than that. But yeah, if you try to strong arm me and draft a bunch of KC wide receivers because you playing me week 1, we're going to have some problems. I don't know. I can't do it. I feel like they have a lot of backs who can do a lot of good things. Like CEH is kind of decent at everything. McKinnon is very good at pass pro and out of the backfield is like playing third down work. And then you have Isaiah Pacheco, who's great in between the tackles. But like, again, those tackles in between the 20s for a team that loves and historically has done so as far as throwing around the goal line. And even when they run, sometimes it's just like it's one of those little push passes to the wide receivers. Yeah. Because, Mahomes is trying to get his numbers up.
Yeah.
And in all honesty, Mahomes, Kelsey, like those are the best players. And so CH was hurt last year. So yeah, we could have just said like Pacheco's just better but I don't know. I struggle with this. I don't want to invest. To me, even the 7th round is kind of early.
But
so
here's the thing.
I got other guys that I prefer.
Everything you're saying, I think, is already baked into his price. Every single thing you're saying. Because if we knew the Chiefs were going to use Pacheco like a true bell cow, he was going to get a lot of the work. They were going to use him at the goal line a lot. I think he'd probably be a top 3-4 round pick.
Has to be.
Easily. You're talking about the starting running back.
Has to be.
No, but that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's baked into his price.
But again, that's why he's playing this game, man. If I knew James Cook was going to get a true bell cow role, he would be going up there. If I knew Devin A-Chain was going to get a true bell cow role, he would be going up there. But there are other guys. It's not about what could happen with them. It's about if I click the pick on Isaiah Pacheco, who do I have to pass up on? And there were so many other guys.
So who are you passing up on that you think
these are guys that I would rather have. I'd rather take my chances with Javonte Williams and just have him sit on the bench for 6 weeks and not even play 6 weeks. I would rather that than Isaiah Pacheco.
But Javonte's issue is he's injured right now.
I would rather have that. You asked me what I wanted.
What I'm saying, he has risk baked in as well, though.
But the caveat was if you knew that
Pacheco, y'all bringing in other discussions.
He's saying like if you knew that Pacheco was going to get,
but you don't know that. That's why his ADP is there.
We don't know anything,
and that's not likely.
No, what he's saying is if you knew that Pacheco was going to get the goal line work with an offense this potent,
he's going to get some goal line.
Going in the top.
The problem with Pacheco is he's going to get some goal line works. Go pull up his game log. Please pull up his game. Right. He's going to get some goal line works. The problem with Pacheco is that you're going to have to try to guess when to start him in your lineup. And you're going to get a bunch of 6 to 7 point games. He's going to produce like 60 yards, 70 yards, 80 yards. You may get an 80-yard. But if he doesn't score, you wasted it. And I don't like those guys in my potential.
Him in the 7th round around other guys that literally have that same type of.
No, I don't agree with that. That's what I'm saying. I prefer a lot of other guys. I think there are a lot of other guys. Like I would much rather have Samaje Perine on my team than I would with Pacheco.
Okay, you just named 2 guys that are literally.
I would rather have both of those 2 guys.
Relationship. Javonte is being taken so late right now because he's currently hurt and he's coming off a major injury. Samaje is being hurt, being drafted right now because he's the guy that's supposed to play the Javonte role until Javonte returns. And when Javonte returns right, Samaje is probably going to be relegated back to the backup role.
Probably. You don't know that. You don't know that it's not an RBC.
But what I'm saying is the value of Javonte and the value of Perine, they have this yin and yang relation to it.
I don't agree with that.
So
you're assuming that.
So you think
what if it's an RBC?
So do you think Javonte and Perine will both have similar value?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. Their head coach is Sean Payton. We've seen him multiple times have 2 running backs that can produce in his offense.
Yeah.
We've seen it multiple times.
But I'll say this.
So how is that so unbelievable?
I think everything you're going to say about them are both going to be total essential because we haven't seen them played out yet.
Well,
we haven't seen him play. We haven't
seen Pacheco be anything. We haven't seen Pacheco be like a bell cow back at any point.
If we did see him be a bell cow, then he would be taken again in the 3rd or 4th round.
If we saw
the concerns we have for Pacheco are already baked into his price. 15, 16,
Look at
from week 11 on, he only had 1 single-digit game.
Don't say single-digit game like it's something significant. He had let's go through this.
I can't say single-digit game when it's a single-digit game.
Okay, look, let me start at week 7. Can I start at week 7? Is that okay?
If you want.
Okay, week 7, 4.3 points. I'm gonna even give you the point. I'm gonna give you the.
He only wants to get to week 9. That's why.
4.3 points. Week 7. Week 9. 1.9 points. Week 10. 82 yards. 7.2 points. Week 11. 107 rushing yards. 0 reception. 10 points. Week 12. He scored a touchdown. Okay. 69 yards. Had 15 points. Week 13, scored a touchdown again, 66 yards, had 16 points. Then from that point on, 12 points, 9 points, 10 points, 12 points, 12 points, 11 points, 13 points. And this is through the playoffs, okay? And this is without CEH.
That's pretty good.
Week 11 on is actually pretty decent.
That's pretty good to me.
That's not good enough for me. So that's what we differ there.
We're talking about a 7th round pick, though.
That's not good enough for me. That's not good enough for me. That's not good enough.
I mean, you're not going to be able to guarantee that type of production with any of the other stuff.
You're not, but I would rather take my chances on somebody else that potentially could give me that production.
I mean, we don't know, and they might use him more this year. Last year he was a rookie. He was an undrafted rookie at that.
Maybe.
And he didn't get burned until the middle of the season.
Right.
I feel like we need to get in the same draft because we do not like the same players, and we can just feed off of that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Happy.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
So
everybody in that area has certain warrants that are baked into their price, and you can give pros and cons for everybody. Honestly, the way I see it.
Yeah.
All right, so we are starting a new segment. We're not going to start it this week. If you're listening to this podcast, if you're in drafts, send us your board through Twitter. We want to critique and rank your board.
I was not aware of this whatsoever.
People have been sending us their boards through
This is
Twitter.
what happens when we don't have topic lists.
Right.
We just wing it.
I missed that meeting.
So quite a number of people have been sending us their boards. Send us your board, and we will critique your board.
Wait, before we move on, though, can we talk a little bit about McKinnon?
Go ahead.
I don't know what kind of role he's going to have this year.
The third down role.
But if he has a third down role, is he startable?
Yes.
Because I think McKinnon, a lot of his production last year was about
let's pull up his
extreme
game box.
efficiency.
Let's pull up his
right?
game box.
He wasn't getting a lot of running work, right? It was a lot of dump offs, and he was scoring these touchdowns.
That's what you want. And they were using him in the red zone.
I'm not saying it's not what you want. I'm just saying, is he startable? Because if he doesn't score those touchdowns, right, then what are you really left with as far as points?
Well, again, it comes out. So he had 68 targets and 54 receptions, 512 yards. Pretty much all of his receptions came off of TDs.
Can you
he
go
was
to his game
so
log?
good that why would they not try to continue to use him?
No, I'm not saying they won't try. I'm just saying he was just very efficient. And efficiency is hard to sustain, especially we're talking about a running back that's older now. He didn't even practice this summer. They held him out. Maybe because, he
wasn't signed. Remember, he wasn't signed.
No, he was signed. He was signed. I'm talking about in minicamp. They held him out because, again, maybe because it was due to the fact that they wanted to arrest him. If you even look at this, week 13 through week 17, he had 14 to 32, 34, 12, and 22. But then week 18, he had 8, 2, 3, and 7. Is that somebody you truly feel comfortable saying, I'm going to start this guy?
I would rather that. I would rather the 14, 32, 34, 12, 26, 8.
Of course you'd rather that. Come on.
the other one.
Of course you rather. I'm just saying.
And he had other double-digit games too. Week 9 he had 10, 11.
When you're setting your lineup, are you going to feel comfortable saying, because even the weeks that we're talking about, he scored 1 touchdown, then he scored 2, then he scored 1, 2. All those games he scored at least 1 touchdown. Matter of fact,
that tells me they use him in the red zone.
He scored a rushing touchdown, so he scored 1 touchdown, 2, a rushing and a
that means they
receiving.
tell me
Here's
they
the
use him in
thing
the red zone.
No, like let's actually go through those games for a bit because Denver had one of the best defenses in the entire league last year.
Not at week 17 they didn't.
But they still had a pretty decent
not at week 17.
defense.
Week 17 they were trash. Week
All
17
right,
they had
that's the
given
last
up.
game. I mean, all right, but did you feel comfortable starting a guy like McKinnon playing against Denver in that first game?
I already told you guys.
Maybe us, like the Texans you did, but you probably missed out on playing him at Denver on that 32 game.
That's why I don't draft guys like this. I already told you. I told you I would rather have this than the other one, but I told you I'm not drafting any of these guys. I'll draft Prince because it's like a 20th round pick and it's a free preview, but I'm not drafting any of these guys. I was drafting McKinnon when he wasn't on the team, just assuming he gets
I would still draft him, but I'm not drafting him because I'm planning to start him. I'm more drafting because he's something like a handcuff on a high octane offense. Yeah. If the other running backs do get hurt and he does get the starting work, that's going to be like the highest waiver wire pickup that whole week easily. So it's more. And again, we're talking about a guy that's being taken in the 10th round right now.
I don't know that he gets carries though. I don't think he. I think his role stays the same. I just think that they'll have somebody else doing the early down work.
Even if the role stays the same, the pie is just divvied between less people. Like right now,
bring somebody else in.
Maybe. I mean, I don't jump. I don't like to just assume they're going to bring somebody else in. Of course, it's possible.
You're assuming that they may get hurt.
I'm not making. I'm just saying if they were to get hurt, the pie is divvied up less people. So that's what I'm saying. Like out of all the handcuffs, I prefer handcuffs on teams that have high octane offenses. Right? I don't want the handcuff of I know they're my team, but I don't want the Texans handcuff. Like that's not exciting to me. Like even if Devin Singletary is a starter, like I'm not gonna be like, yay, let's go. That's not gonna be fun for me. So I don't know. Even the Saints, like we may need to talk about the Saints. Just with the assumption that
Let's
Kamara's
talk
going
about
to
the Saints, 'cause
get
we really don't have a topic list, so let's talk
Actually,
about the
I
Saints.
think-
Let's talk about the Saints.
No, I'm just saying
we're done. I think we're done.
I'm just
We're
saying. At
heading
some
out.
point, we should talk about the Saints because if Kamara gets hurt, I mean, I'm not hurt. I'm sorry, suspended. Like everybody's assuming, we're still taking the other running backs on that team so late. So does that basically mean we're not excited about Jamal Williams and Kendre Miller, or are we undervaluing them at the moment?
Jamal Williams, I think, is being significantly undervalued.
Okay,
I would agree with that.
okay. Well, I just
By myself in particular, I'm just speaking on myself. I think he's definitely being undervalued.
Yeah, just something I look at is like if one player is being valued so low, then it's almost like a yin and yang. If one person's low, then who's going to be the one that's going to take advantage of the value that's being left over? And if we're still looking at these players low as well, then there's a blind spot there. Unless we're just basically saying the Saints running back is going to be just trash.
No, I think my issue with Jamal Williams, I shouldn't even say that I'm under. I think my issue is one, I just don't think he's that good.
So again, you think they're just trash?
Not just trash, but I just don't think he's just that good.
Okay.
But two, like I'm not sure how good the Saints O-line is. I'm not sure how good that offense is going to be.
So the running back is trash then. I mean, the running game I meant is trash.
And I'm not sure how much they're going to use him in the past. I mean, I guess if Kamara's not there, then he's probably
gotta use somebody.
He's probably the third down back.
They got to use somebody.
He'll probably be serviceable the first few weeks, the first 6 weeks, which is a significant portion. I don't know. He's a tough.
That's what I'm saying. Like you have to pick a side. Like I feel like and I'm not singling out any fantasy content creators out there because honestly I don't really focus on people's takes like that, but I always feel like when a person says they're low on somebody, then it has to mean that they must be higher on somebody else, whether it's the backup, whether it's the other receiver, unless they just think the offense as a whole is trash, and that's obviously a possibility. But it's I think every offense has the potential to do something. You just have to figure out who the valuable player is there. And I think that's where you can kind of find edges. So.
All right, guys. So, we're right at an hour.
Real quick, shout out to Scott Connor, by the way.
Right.
He put a tweet out there yesterday of a guy that I've been looking at a while ago, but I heard nobody else talking about him. I Googled him, no buzz whatsoever, so I just kind of just dismissed him. But when I saw his tweet, I was like, somebody finally said something. But Eljiah Higgins, he's a rookie. This is a Dynasty guy, by the way. Rookie tight end for the Dolphins. Keep in mind, the Dolphins, they lost Mike Gesicki. They traded Hunter Long. So who is there at tight end left over?
Yeah.
We're talking about another high-octane offense. We believe they're going to be high-octane. The Eljiah Higgins was a 4th or 5th round pick out of Stanford. He was a wide receiver in college. Yeah. Was converted to tight end.
We love receivers converted to tight ends.
Muzio, I think, is on him too. So.
Oh, you've heard about him already?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
I haven't heard many
but not a lot. Most people are not aware.
But that's a guy for Dynasty guys you can take, especially in your tight end premium. Sell him, just see how things end up. There's not a lot of competition in front of him, and you never know. He could be something. So.
All right. Well, that's a pretty good Dynasty tape.
Yeah,
we got a Muzio drop, and then you were able to drop your mans.
Yeah, man.
So, all right, guys, that's it for this week. Please like, rate, subscribe. We're out.